Welcome students to the another session of life processes. Today we will be studying about transportation in plants. Transportation in plants mainly takes place by xylem and phloem. What does xylem do? The xylem transports water and dissolved minerals from the roots to the upper part of the plants. What does the phloem do? The phloem transports the food that is prepared by the leaves to the other part of the plants. The xylem and the phloem together are called as vascular bud. The xylem and the phloems are the two tubes that are found in the plant. The xylem carries water from the roots to the upper part of the plants. Along with the water, it also carries dissolved minerals from the soil. You can see the direction. It is unidirectional, only one direction, from the roots to the upper part of the plants. What does the phloem do? It carries the food from the leaves. The leaf is a place where the food is made, and this food is then carried into the phloem. The direction is bidirectional. Either the food can go up or down. To which places does the food go? It goes to the place where more metabolism is required. Mainly the growing part of the plant. That is the roots when they are growing, the stems that are growing, the leaves that are growing. Let us study about transportation taking in plants by xylem. How does the xylem look like? The xylem cells are thick, they are hard, and they are non-living in nature. They conduct water in one direction only, and it is a continuous channel with no cells in between. The cell walls are thickened with lignin. We can see that the xylem vessel is non-living. Who helps in transportation of water from the roots to the medial part of the plants? There are two processes that takes place over here. There are that one, the moment takes place because of the root pressure, and second, the transpiration. It helps in movement of water and the dissolved minerals in the xylem. What is transpiration? Transpiration means the loss of water from the aerial part of the plant. It mainly takes place wherever there are stomatas and mainly the leaves. This movement of water from the roots to the upper part of the plant is also called as ascent of sap. Now, how does ascent of sap takes place because of transpiration? Transpiration means loss of water taking place from the leaves. This creates a suction pressure and helps to absorb water and minerals. And this water and mineral moves upward in the xylem. So this is an ascent of sap taking place because of the transpiration. Another process that helps in transportation of water and dissolved minerals is because of the root pressure. Inside the roots, the water content is less, and surrounding place, the water content is more. That is how the water enters from the surrounding into the root hairs, from the root hairs to the adjoining cell, and from the adjoining cell into the xylem. And if the plant is very short, this root pressure is largely involved in transporting water and minerals through the xylem to the top of the. But in tall plants, root pressure is not enough, but it contributes partially to the ascent of sap. In tall plants, transpiration takes place, and this is a major way in how water and dissolved minerals are carried from the roots to the upper part. So, what is xylem? It is a non-living tube that is running in the stems from the roots to the leaves. The root hairs that are found in the root will absorb water, and water will move from one cell to another by the process of osmosis. What happens in osmosis? Osmosis is movement of water from a region where water content is more to a region where water content is less. and that is how water is transported to the xylem. And from xylem of the roots, it reaches to the upper part of the plant by the process of transpiration mainly. Let us talk about the phloem. You can see how phloem looks like. This whole tube is called a sieve tube. The sieve tube is divided into different cells. This is a one sieve cell and this is another sieve cell. Between the two sieve cells is a sieve plate. And these sieve plates have got many pores. They are perforated in nature. And the food that enters into the phloem that is prepared by the leaves moves in this phloem. The phloem has got a companion cell and this is a parenchymatous cell. Let us go back to the slide and see the difference between the two. You can see the thickness of the xylem is non-living, but here these are the companion cells. So we say that the phloem is living. Now the movement of food in the phloem is bidirectional. Either the food can go from upside to downside or from downside to upside. Let us see how the food that is prepared by the leaves move in the phloem. There are three processes involved over here. The three processes are what we have to remember. One is active transport, for which energy is required. Second process is the process that is called as diffusion. Diffusion means from a higher concentration to lower concentration. And third is osmosis. Osmosis means water content is moving from a region of higher concentration to lower concentration. So let us start over here. Food is being prepared in the leaves and this place is called as source. Now, in order that the food has to move in the companion cell, and energy is required. From the source to the companion cell, energy is required and this energy is required in the form of ATP. The process is an active transport. An active transport means energy in the form of ATP is required. So one process is over. So how does food move from the source, that is a leaf, to the companion cell? It uses energy from the ATP, that is active transport takes place. Now food has to go from this companion cell inside the phloem. Now here in the companion cell, the concentration of glucose and food like amino acids and other minerals that is found is more. Therefore, here the concentration of food is more, and this food will move by the process of diffusion to a low concentration place, and that is how this food enters into the phloem. So we have learned about second process, and that process is called as diffusion. Now, over here, the concentration of food is more and water content is less. Adjacent, there is a xylem where the water content is more. That is how the process that is third is osmosis. Osmosis is movement of water from a region of high concentration to low concentration. That is how the water will enter inside the phloem. This makes the pressure very high in this part of cell. As I told you, remember, the whole of the phloem is made into different cells. Each cell is divided by a sieve plate, and sieve plates are perforated in nature. They have got pores in between. So this cell has got high pressure. Now, this has to move to a region of low pressure. Imagine that this is the direction where the low pressure is there. That means this food will travel in the phloem on the lower side. Normally, the place where there is low pressure adjacent to it is a place that is called a sink. Sink is a place where large amount of energy is required to grow. The sinks can be the roots, they can be the flowers, fruits, stems, and developing leaves. Leaves are particularly interesting in this regard because they are sinks when they are young and sources when they are grown up. So here, let us suppose that this is a source and that is a matured leaf. And let us suppose that this is a growing part of the leaf, that is a sink. We know the leaves, they grow up in branches below also. So They will move again from this sieve cell into the adjacent companion cell by the process of diffusion. From here, they will move again towards the sink by the active transport, for which energy is required. So this is how the food is transported in the phloem. Let us understand this again. We call it as movement of food in the phloem as translocation. So what is translocation? Translocation is movement of food that is taking place in the phloem. This transportation takes place from a place where food is prepared to the place where the food is required. They are all made up of living cells. In this, between the cells, there are sieve plates, and these sieve plates have got small holes in it. Now, what does the phloem do? They transport a water solution of sugar that we call as sap. This can be explained by fluid pressure. The food that is produced by the process of photosynthesis have to be transported to the place where energy is. This is first done by a process called as active transport. In active transport, energy is required. What is the meaning of active transport? Active transport means energy in the form of ATP is required over here, and the sucrose that is being produced by the leaves have to be moved into the companion cell. That is the first process that we discussed. This raises the concentration of sucrose in the companion cell. So companion cell is having high amount of sucrose molecules, and they will enter into sieve tube by the process of diffusion. So this is a second process, that the food has reached from the source, that is a leaf, to the companion cell by active transport, and from the companion cell to the phloem inside the sieve cell by the process of diffusion. Now, when the concentration of sucrose is more in the sieve tubes, water will enter inside the sieve tubes by the process of osmosis. When large amount of water is in the tube, because of the fluid pressure, the food will be transported inside the tube to a place where the pressure is less. Again, I will go to this slide where you can see that this is a source. Food is being prepared over here because of energy that is given by ATP. It reaches to the companion cell. The food then enters into the phloem, that is a sieve cell, and inside this cell, by the process of diffusion, water from the xylem will enter into the phloem, this part of sieve cell, by the process of osmosis, and then it will move in the direction towards the low pressure region, and then this food will be transported to the sink. Even the extra water will be again removed by the process of osmosis. So this is how xylem and phloem conducts water and food in that. Let us see the difference between the two. What does xylem do? It carries food and minerals from the roots to the other plant, and for this no energy is required. It is non-living. You can add a third point. What is phloem? It carries the product made by the photosynthesis from leaves to the other part of the plant. During photosynthesis, sucrose, amino acids, and many other compounds are also made. Now, for this, energy is required in the form of ATP. Let us see the pictorial form of transportation in plants by xylem and phloem. In xylem, it's made up of non-living cells. Phloem is made up of living cells. In xylem, you can see the thickness. It is made up of lignin. Phloem, they've got a companion cells on the side. The flow of water in the dissolved minerals is in one direction. The flow of the food and the organic food that is made by it is in the bidirectional. It is a continuous channel. No cells are found over here. It is not a continuous channel. In between, there are sieve plates, and these sieve plates have got pores in between. This is how transportation takes place in plants by xylem and phloem. Thank you so much. See you in the next session, which will be last session of our excretion.